Now, staying with that story as well, with that theme, the extortion syndicate has also spread to the province of Gauteng, specifically Mamelodi, Tshwane, where a group calling them itself Boko Haram is terrorizing businesses and residents. The group reportedly targets spaza shops, landlords, and even taxi operators. Crime expert Calvin Rafadi joins us for more. Calvin, thank you so much for coming into studio. Talk about this very important topic right now, which is deemed a crisis at this point.
Yeah, good evening, Masa, and good evening to your viewers. We first want to applaud the police for the recent recovery of a stolen vehicle, the white Polo, which is cloned. They look alike like the police vehicle. It was going to cause a lot of damage and a lot of crimes, especially towards the festive season. So we applaud the police when it comes to that. Now, speaking about the so-called Boko Haram and the likes, these are cults, and we have always been saying that, not dealing decisively with the role models. There's a lot of recruitment of even the upcoming to join the certain cult or certain groups, like we call, some of them called Boko Harams. They come in different names, by the way. Mamelodi communities, one can say that once a point they were so happy. There used to be what we call John Wick. Now, a lot of leaders were actually killed by this John Wick coming from Boko Haram. So it was in 2021, a lot of people, they celebrated in Mamelodi because the situation started subsiding. But now they are back now. There's a lot of recruitments. There are new ones who came back now. So the issue of the whole of Tshwane, the issue is land invasion. And they fight for land invasion so that they can cut certain titles for, the people that are paying them. And then you get the water tanker mafias. But with the water tanker mafias, some of the ward councillors are involved. Why I'm saying that is because of those trucks, whenever they go to a particular ward, now to get water from the water hydrant, the main pipe, they get to pay a certain fee. Now, takes them now when they go and deliver water in another section, then they want the commuters or the customers to pay for that water, of which they must get it for free. So it's a big problem in Pretoria.
And it's, as you're saying, Calvin, spread across from water mafia to construction mafia, whether it's spaza shops, hair salons. It's just like nobody is spared. And you're talking about this Boko Haram being a cult as well, and it also recruits young people. In the report before, we also saw in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro in Kwanobuhle, where children in schools are mimicking these behaviors too. Parents, impassioned pleas, they are concerned, of course, that now this has become the modus operandi not only outside of society for adults, but also now school children.
Yes, indeed. It's very worrying. But we can say, if you understand the gangs of underworld of Cape Town, especially in the Western Cape, like your Cape Flats, the small kids have been recruited, to fight for thefts. They are given guns and drugs. And then most of them, they fight for thefts for this big underworld. But at the same time now, we also realized in Western Cape that, there are homemade guns that are manufactured, by the way. So now this flows now to Eastern Cape now. But the issue of Eastern Cape now, traditional leaders, they need to get their act together. Why I'm saying that, some of them, like we heard this morning on some of the dossiers that you guys have made on Newzroom, traditional leaders are fighting for the aerial, that there's a network aerial. They need, profit dividends and all of that. And some are making other people to pay 100 rands. So it starts from the leadership, especially in the traditional leadership of Eastern Cape. And why I'm emphasizing on traditional leadership of Eastern Cape, many parents will agree with me that a boy child goes to an initiation school, banks the school, goes to the initiation school, comes back, and there's this, what we call man. We need to underline that. Then that's when now they join these particular cults and start terrorizing the communities and taking drugs and becoming more of alcoholic. But at the same time, Department of Education must also look into the issue that you can't have somebody repeating one grade for a long time. And, I'm taking my child to school, but someone twice the age of my child attends the same class with the child. So once they get recruited, they also become bullies to these kids.
And staying with that province as well, you know, in the Eastern Cape for many years now, there have been reports, exposés highlighting, for instance, bus operators who have needed to have protection fees because of allegedly the taxi industry, who will then say, no, you are using our routes, so now you actually have to pay us for this. Now, it seems like a problem that started that could have been nipped in the bud, and now it's just spread everywhere. Everyone thinks that there needs to be some sort of a protection fee. Bringing it back to Mamelodi, we know of volunteer community patrollers, similarly to like a CPF. Now, these are ordinary men and women. They are not law enforcement officials who are just concerned about themselves and their families and neighbors' safety. They get up very early every morning to help people who are going to school and work to patrol. So they're there to protect the community. And then you have these protection racketeers, these extortion mafia, who then go to these CPF and say, well, you need to pay us a protection fee so that you can protect residents. I mean, the irony of it all.
Yeah, no, indeed, is a problem. You know, issues, I'm glad you mentioned the issue of taxi wars and the bus issue. I mean, where is the Department of Transport? They are the ones who must sort out these issues of, you know, the routes of the buses, the taxis. They must give them, award them the licensing of using, and permits of using those routes. Like with Eastern Cape, we heard about the e-hailing, that some of those, their cars, they are pounded. So taxi owners, most of the time, they also become bullying to even other ordinary people that they need to share business with. So, but Department of Transport needs to look at that. Now, the issue about this Boko Harams or all these mafias, whatever they call themselves, we had even some of the leaders, even in the top brass police, to say, we cannot continue with cases because there are no complainant on that have made a statement. No, it doesn't work like that. We need to remind one another. That's what we call in the police a person of interest. Yeah. Now, with organized crime, once there's a person of interest and you are massa, they just open an inquiry. They can investigate to check how do you elicit money, proceeds of that money. They follow the money with Financial Intelligence Center, Assets Forfeiture Unit, and then upon the prima facie of all of that evidence, then you stand a chance that you can get arrested and be prosecuted. So this narrative of we're waiting for people to come and open the case, people are scared. Nobody wants to go and walk in the police station and give out their details or go to an imbiz and raise up their hands. People are scared. But there are people of interest. So we don't need even crime intelligence to go and start profiling these people. They are known. Let's register inquiry, because that's how it operates in the organized crime industry. So
there are these low-hanging fruit that law enforcement can go and seek. I mean, for instance, in the case again, Mamelodi, Boko Haram, they've gone so brazen that they're now issuing receipts to people for their services, right? Now, if you have a receipt on black and white and paper to show that this is a certain person that you are paying a fee to or who's extorting you, surely this is also another low-hanging fruit.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, I can also, I can boldly tell you that I work too close with organized crime of the Tshwane subs, organized crime. And, you know, they were coming right with this issue. But, you know, because of the lack of resources, somehow it also affects some of this operation to take place. That's why, you know, we call upon the business industries, like they did with, you remember the George Fivers report that they funded at ESCOM. Let them also fund, because it's interest to the communities. Let them also fund the police. Let's get some resources and deal decisively with this crime. But like we say, people of interest, they are there. All we need to do is to activate POCA Act before the government get confused, because once they get confused, you know, they're just going to unleash the military for a temporary being, and then once the military withdraws, the problem still persists.
And also, would you say this is a problem that finds itself in not nipping it in the bud in the first place? When you're seeing it rear its ugly head, whether it's in construction or in the transport industry, just nipping it in the bud then, before it then spreads on to street vendors. I mean, when we think of, I mean, yes, with this case in Kraaifontein now in the Western Cape, we are hearing mixed reports, and the police are saying, look, it's not related to protection fees. However, we do know that it's still a big problem in the Western Cape, and that is why the minister is there right now. But when it comes to delaying of these processes as well, you can't even have a magistrate building that's been constructed well and built well because of the construction mafia. In Mamelodi, it's been delayed for over 10 years now because of such. So the very institutions that are supposed to then go and uphold the law are also being hindered.
Yes, definitely. And, you know, my main worry about all of this is that it's going to come to a point where there will be a lot of vigilantism. Because people, they will end up not trusting the justice system or even the police, and they'll take matters into their own hands. I mean, look at the issue about public works when it comes to construction mafia. They're still looking for a definition of what is a construction mafia and how do they operate. I mean, I cannot come, I don't stay here in Randburg. I'm from Pretoria, Soshanguve, but whenever there's some construction here, I come, then I justify the 30%, not as a labor. I need cash up front of that money. I mean, that's pure crime. It's corruption. So why do you still need to get confused and say, I need to amend the law, I need to do this? That's a pure crime. You arrest those people. Now, speaking about, like we said, with organized crime, another point that will also help in the Eastern Cape is that those who will get arrested, their phones need to be taken and taken for downloading. They need to map it, to analyze, to a point that we see who are the politicians who are involved, who are the chiefs who are involved. Because between you and me, I can tell you that the chiefs are also involved. So some of their fights, they even unleash some of these construction mafias to fight their own fights. That's why it's becoming a chaos. So what I'm saying is, let's gather all the evidence. Let's map these people. Because another modus operandi of construction mafia is they make sure towards the election or during the election, they pump a lot of money campaigning for certain political parties. That's why some of them, you find them wearing political regalia, like in Pretoria, the stands that I'm telling you about that they fight for or are being sold. You find them wearing political regalias. So in order to eradicate that, we also need to map those who are arrested to even get to the ones that are politicians, to the ones that are chiefs, but also to the ones that are in prison. Because this thing also, it runs from prison. There are also big fishes in prison that run this particular game of extortion and construction mafia. That's why I get worried whenever there are raids in prisons and the phones that they just taken, and then we don't know how they dispose of them, by the way.
They're not even supposed to have them in the first place.
Exactly, but I'm talking about the law officials. How do they dispose of them? Do they ban them or do they, we don't know. But those phones, it's part of evidence. You seal it in an evidence plastic, you take the ownership, he signs a consent, you download that phone and you'll thank me later.
So why aren't the police doing that?
We don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm worried that if we don't nip this thing in the bud, vigilantism will be the source of the time.
Yeah, it seems that the point of nipping it in the bud, we've gone past that point already. This problem has mushroomed, it seems. I want to go back to the example you were making about somebody living in, let's say, Soshanguve, looking for a work opportunity. If there's a construction site in Randburg, of course, that's a bit of a distance, Tshwane, Johannesburg, and how we distinguish, you know, between the two. So there are projects where local community members will come to that project site to say, look, this company has come into our area. I mean, easy examples when you think of the mining sector, has come into our area and we are not benefiting from these profits. We're not benefiting from any job opportunities. And here is this company right at our doorstep. How do we then distinguish between those legitimate concerns where community members should rightfully be getting some sort of employment if it is possible, and those who are just saying, look, any sort of development that's going on in this area needs to go past us?
Yeah, you see, that's why we are calling them construction mafia, but because also they camouflage under business forums. Now, if you're from Randburg, the kids of Randburg, they'll have a MOU, they'll register a company and even a trust account for that matter, those who are unemployed. So any project that takes place in the area, those kids then they will be the first ones to must take the CVs. So it's in fact the 30% is the labor issue. Yeah. Those kids, they become part of the project. Should the project fail or there's liquidation or what have you, so be it. But you cannot come, the project is 900,000, then already you demand the 30%, meaning you want 300,000 up front. And you demand it to say, I want it this coming fortnight. You better make sure you've got 100. The other one, that's pure extortion. Right there, and it's pure extortion. So these people, that they camouflage as business forums, and then because they are gangs, they move from another area and even look for opportunities of their part of their extortion or construction mafia tactics in another area. But here's another problem that we are also sitting with that I've analyzed. There's what we call SIRA. SIRA regulates private securities. These people, you see them walking around with foreign bouncers, waving guns everywhere, because that's how they get to be feared, by the way. They carry guns around to send a message during the day, collecting the money. Are those guns, do they have permits? Those people who are having those SIRA guns, do they have competency for those guns? And why are they not wearing a uniform? And how are they getting paid? Because if I'm a construction mafia, I get paid certain amount, then it means I pay them cash. Now, where is the that's money laundering right there. So SIRA needs to come on board and now start to regulate this particular so-called private companies with bouncers and guns all over the show.
Yeah, we are in trouble indeed with a long road ahead of us. Thank you so much, Calvin, for coming into studio.